Hi, welcome to Solutions for Seniors. I'm Linda Pellerin, the Executive Director of the Shepherd Center of Charlotte. We're an organization, primarily we work with seniors, hoping to keep them in their home environment for as long as possible. And we do this through various programs and services for them. This program is about, or this show actually is working with other organizations and the senior community so that you can learn about all of the options out there for seniors. And we're very happy today to have two guests with us. The first guest is Frank Halasz. He is the executive chef at Carmel Place. And our second guest is Debora Sparks. She's the executive director of Charlotte Mecklenburg Council on Aging, yes. And we have Frank here, Chef Frank, I'll call him, because he is the winner of our Chef Wars competition, which we held in June. And it's a friendly competition where we take some of the senior communities and the chefs come out and they cook, they cook items for us, and the people who come get to taste all of the, they taste the entrees and they taste the desserts, and they vote in two ways. They vote for the best entree and also for the best dessert. So there's actually two prizes given. And this year, Chef Frank won actually both prizes. So he won the entree and the dessert.
Wow.
So tell us what you served.
Well, I had to give it long and hard thought. I really wanted to win the competition, and I sat down and pondered what would be the best combination of food. So what I came up with was a porcini dusted loin of lamb that was pan-seared, served with a pinot noir sauce, served with a goat cheese souffle, haricots, which are baby French beans that are sautéed lightly, and an heirloom tomato salad.
Oh my goodness.
And it actually, you envision something that you want to prepare, but when you actually make it and it comes out how you envisioned it, then you're kind of excited. The dessert was which was really, really good, was a chocolate Napoleon, and it had a hazelnut Chambord ganache. And the layers were done in hippomas, which is like a sugar cookie.
Oh my goodness.
So, and then it was glazed with chocolate glaze and served with a raspberry drizzle.
And I got to tell you, it was to die for. It really was. And I asked all the chefs to give me the menus beforehand so that I could put them on the ballots, so everybody who was voting could tell who made what. And to tell you the truth, I had no idea actually what. I knew you were bringing lamb, but all the other stuff, I had no idea because I'm not like this big chef or anything. But the goat cheese souffle was really good. I was really looking forward to trying that, and that was very tasty. And the dessert was really extremely good. And I was sharing with Frank before we started the program that his food, it really got most of the votes. So he was bound and determined this year. We held Chef Wars last year as well, and Southminster won the entree, and Atria Marywood won the dessert, and so for a whole year, Chef Frank has been going, you know what, I'm going to win this one this time. So he's been very competitive, and so we really enjoyed that. You do work at Carmel Place.
Yes.
And I have been out there on several occasions, and I've never been there where the food hasn't been just superb.
Thank you.
But what are the challenges when because Carmel Place, it's a senior retirement community, and what are the challenges in cooking for seniors?
Well, we're an independent living center, which is great. So we have, the challenges we face there is we have a diverse crowd. We have people that have been around the world. We've had people that have dined in numerous restaurants. They have food knowledge. They challenge me, not on a daily basis, but an hourly basis sometimes. But, there's a misconception out there about senior dining. A lot of people think it's very bland food, very plain. Totally different, especially at Carmel Place. I go through wine by the gallon. I go through tons of fresh herbs. There is some spice. I have to tone it down a little bit, of course, but they do like some sort of taste to it. We do a lot of things from scratch at Carmel Place too. 95% of our food is from scratch. We make our own veal stocks. We make our own chicken stocks. We use very modern cooking techniques like searing, grilling, smoking items. So they're always looking for something different, like they would go to a restaurant. So I consider Carmel Place not a senior living center, but more like a resort or a hotel. And that's how they view it as well. We're always looking to challenge them, and they challenge us. One thing that we do that's really exciting is once a month we have a celebrity resident chef. We choose a resident at Carmel Place, and they design the menu for the day, and actually some of them actually come in the kitchen and supervise the preparation. So it's pretty fun, and it really is. I've got a great culinary team as well. I've got a very devoted staff. They go above and beyond. I'm very blessed for that. It's a very tough business, and I can honestly say the people I have that are supporting me in the kitchen and in the unit itself, fantastic.
Now, how long have you been at Carmel Place?
Just about 3 years now.
Okay, tell us a little bit about your background.
Sure. Actually, I'm originally from New York City. I got started in cooking from my grandmother. My grandmother was born here in the United States, raised in Europe, in Hungary, came back to the United States, moved to New York City, became a housekeeper and a cook, and she had a lot of European skills, so she was a very diverse European cook. So my parents worked long hours, and she basically raised me, and she would do the cooking, so I would watch her, and I thought to myself, if I learned what she did, I can cook it faster and eat quicker. But I did. She was very, very good, and that's how I got started. In school, in middle school, I took some home economics classes because the cookies and stuff smelled really good when you walk through the halls. And I got more involved in it. And my teacher actually brought me outside in the hallway one day, this was in 8th grade, and said, you know what, you really should take this up as a career. So I did. Went to Johnson & Wales University in Providence, their main campus, graduated, and then started my career, mostly hotels up and down the East Coast. And I guess my biggest achievement was in '93, working for Omni Hotels. Bill Clinton, when he got elected, him and Al Gore, their entourage came to my hotel, and I got to feed them and got some really, really good publicity out of that as well. And it was a very good challenge, so to say.
That's good. My husband is retired, and one of the deals we made when he retired was I was fine with him retiring as long as he took care of cleaning the house and cooking. Okay? And every morning when I get up, he looks at me and goes, so what do you want for dinner tonight? I'm like, that's part of the whole thing, is figuring out what to make. I said, I don't want to have to deal with that. I have other things. I have the Shepherd Center to run. I have things on my mind. You figure out what we're going to eat tonight. And what doesn't make it any easier for him is that I'm vegetarian, so he can't just throw a steak on the grill, And so my question to you is, how do you come up with your menus? What I'm sure you have a whole wealth of knowledge and like this major cookbook in your head, but especially when you're working for a retirement community, it's got to be tough to come up with. Now, do you do breakfast, lunch, and dinner?
3 meals a day. It's really a tough operation because you're dealing with 127 residents with 127 different tastes, and you feed them 3 times a day, and they come down. They're there at 8 o'clock, 12:30, and 5 o'clock, 5:30 on the nose. They're ready to go. And they all have their different tastes. So it's very hard. So you have to kind of change it up. Sometimes half the dining room will love you Monday, and Tuesday it'll be like, well, why do we have this? And then the other half is like, oh, that was great. Next day, the opposite. So it's a balancing act. You try to make a little something for everybody, So it's very, very, very hard in regards to that. But we achieve those challenges, though. We basically, I guess, overall on a weekly basis, kind of please somebody each day, Our menus, we do have cycle menus that the company provides. They're 13-week cycle menus, but there's some items on there I know my residents aren't going to eat. So why put them through the pain of putting something on the menu that they're not going to eat? Mm-hmm. And actually, I got challenged with this, and I said, well, listen, the menus are great, but if they don't like this chicken item, I'll make a different chicken that I know they're going to like. Mm-hmm. Same protein, but it'll be different, and I know they're going to eat. And they're very flexible in regards to that. It is about the residents.
Right.
So, and they're happy with that too. So it's exciting, and that's where the creativity comes into play. You don't want to be repetitive. You want to think of different things. Being from a hotel background, there was always something different that happened. So there was numerous menu items, different types of foods you're able to prepare, and I kind of challenge the residents with a lot of those. And I get feedback from them too. I'll have residents say, "Oh, why can't you make this?" Well, that's a great idea. Mm-hmm. Haven't done that in a long time. So we try to do that.
The one good thing about seniors that I've found anyway is they're not afraid to give you their opinion.
No, definitely not.
Well, as part of the winner of our Chef Wars event, you get to have this award that we get to keep, or you get to keep it at Carmel Place for the next year. And then next year when you come back to compete, you have to bring it with you.
Okay.
Hopefully you'll be able to bring it back. Southminster was hoping to bring it back with them, and you kind of put a little fly in the ointment for that one. But anyway, I'm going to award you this right here on TV.
That's great.
So you get to take this with you and display it in a prominent place.
Thank you so much.
And we're just very happy that you were able to win this year.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. It was definitely a tough competition because we had some really, really good competitors. Mm-hmm. And I think next year it'll even be tougher. But that's what competitions are. I love it. I love competitions. I've competed for years and years, hot food, cold food, ice carvings. And you just each year you got to try harder. But it's fun.
Yeah, and that's what it's all about, is to have a fun event where the seniors can come out and enjoy themselves, and I know the chefs have fun competing. We should mention who the others were. We had Atrium Marywood there, we had Southminster there, and we also had 3 of the communities from 5-star, Legacy Heights, the Laurels and the Haven, and and Summit Place of South Park. I knew I was going to forget one of them. So they were all there competing too, so it was a really fun event. Okay, we're going to move on now. Deborah's here from the Council on Aging. And Frank, I'm going to go back to you for 1 second.
Sure.
What does the Council on Aging do? Throwing you a curveball there, but...
We'll see.
This is unfair.
No, it isn't actually. It isn't, because I'm very familiar with the Council on Aging, because there was a short stint in my career where I actually worked with them slightly, well, indirectly. So the Council of Aging helps seniors, just different assets or facets of their life, whether it's transportation, whether it's Medicare. Just overall, they're there as a support group for the seniors. I know when I had tried to do Medicare in regards to sales of Medicare plans at one point in my career, that I went to Council of the Aging and they're like, well, this is what needs to happen and this is what we can do. So it's actually an asset to the senior to be part of or to utilize the Council for the Aging. It really is. They're there as a really strong support group for them.
Well, great. See,
I mean, I'm sure there's a lot more to it, but that's basically what I know of them.
Well, and I guess where I was trying to go with this is that there's a lot of people in the community who aren't aware of what the Council on Aging does, and a lot of them are seniors. I mean, I've talked to a lot of them, and they'll come to me and go, hey, I need help with this, and I'm like, well, have you talked to the Council on Aging? And they go, well, no. Do we have one here? And I'm like, yes. So tell me a little bit about what's going on with the Council on Aging now, and what some of the primary focus is.
Let me start by thanking you so much for inviting Council on Aging to be on the show. And congratulations, Frank.
Thank you.
And I mentioned before we started that I get to be a judge next year. Just want to put that out there. And in fact, what you said about Council on Aging is true for many councils on aging, but it turns out that there are about as many different models out there for councils on aging as there are stars in the sky. And the Council on Aging in Charlotte-Mecklenburg Mecklenburg is our mission is to transform the community into one that's senior friendly through planning, programming, education, and advocacy. And we are an independent 501c3. We're nonpartisan, we're non-sectarian, and that is part of what makes us unusual because we've been independent in the sense that we're not affiliated with any particular group or leaning. We have relied heavily on county funding, and there was some United Way funding at one time, but of course with the economic conditions being what they are, it's been very challenging the last couple of years, and so the agency has been trying to adapt as we go along. But during the course of the last almost 6 years that I've been there, we've undertaken some initiatives that came out of the Status of Seniors Initiative study, which for those who've been around this community for a while, there was a volunteer effort in the early 2000s which produced a report in 2005, and it contained recommendations for this community to become more senior friendly, and it focused on issues that were important to the seniors at the time and the seniors under construction, and that one of the top priorities was transportation. Caregiving and housing were two other ones that we took on as our initial sort of challenges to try to implement some of the recommendations that came out of Status of Seniors Initiative. Right now we're actually trying to update that report, and that should be coming out sometime summer 2012, where we talk about the accomplishments that we've made against the original set of recommendations, and we try to lay out some of the things that we feel are important going forward. In fact, one of the things that we've just completed is a mobility management plan for Mecklenburg County that we would like to see implemented. It has produced a report that tries to go towards ultimately a one-click, one-call system for coordinating transportation against the big providers, which are CATS and Mecklenburg Transportation System, but also in the long run integrate some of the charities and faith-based communities and some of the others that also offer some of those services. We're trying to make it accessible to the underserved population, and so that was the outcome of that report. One of the products was this mobility guide that we are just publishing now, and we're going to try to make this available in a lot of places where seniors go, so that, and it's basically just a simple directory, if you will, of services that are available in the county. In addition, we have a Caregiving 101 program that we have also been doing here at Channel 21. We've completed 3 years of those shows now. We will be completing the third 36 shows later this week, and we're pleased about that. It's something that we stream live on the DSS Just One Call website under the Caregiving Family Caregiver Support pages. We also make it available through the public library that people can borrow, and we hope to at some point be able to make them available that people can purchase them online if they want to just have them at home for the long run. So that we're very proud of, and we've also been working on things having to do with housing. Some of the initiatives there involve, of course, universal design. There was a project down on South Boulevard that you may be familiar with if you ever go through that Tyvola Road, South Boulevard intersection. We, some of our members were engaged in developing the design, signage, the crosswalks, and all the things there that allow, for example, a senior to get halfway through the intersection and can stop without and be safe in the median and then get across to the other side. So not only does that work for a senior, but it also works for a young mother with one child in a stroller and one child on their hand. So again, the initiatives that Council on Aging have undertaken have aimed at trying to make the community senior friendly, and by using that lens, we find that it's really better for everyone. So we have been looking at things that have been basically win-win for the community. And in addition, we provide a lot of information and referral. Council on Aging was one of the founding members of the Community Resource Connection, which is a fairly new initiative that we've undertaken, which attempts to use a no wrong door model, which is kind of the opposite of what we're trying to do with transportation. But the idea there is that if you approach any of the partner members of the Community Resource Connection and contact them, for example, you contact somebody for a ramp, and in addition you need other services, in-home meals, those kinds of things, then by contacting that one partner, you can get connected with all of those other partners without having to call a string of people, unless that's your preference.
So streamlined.
We've tried to make it a very person-centered approach to accessing resources and services to allow people who have either advanced age or disabilities to stay in their home as long as they can safely do so. So we have that in common,
Right.
that's really the goal. And the seniors are happier, and it ends up, from a cost benefit perspective, it's actually the most cost-effective way of maintaining older adults is to allow them to continue to live in their familiar surroundings with their things for as long as possible. So we're pleased with that.
Well, one of the things that the Shepherd Center offers is, we have senior volunteers that will drive other seniors to their medical appointments. The problem with the system is that our senior drivers, the volunteers, are comfortable just in a certain part of the city, and we can't cover like the northwest of Mecklenburg County. And so if we get a phone call from out that way, we don't have a driver for them. We're working with some of the faith community out that way to try to get more volunteers in that. So, it would be great for us, because a lot of times we don't know where to refer them to. Usually we'll tell them to call just one call. And if you, yes, give me this.
Let me share this with you.
We will put this out and keep it at all of our desks, so that when someone does call and we can't help them, we can at least give them this information, because transportation, I don't care if you're 55 or 85, there's going to be someone within that realm who is disabled and can no longer drive, or they've just had surgery and they can't drive for a certain amount of time. I ran into a woman this morning who just she broke a bone in her foot, and it's her right foot, and she can't drive now, and she has a disabled daughter. And and she's like, I take the boot off and I drive anyway. And I'm like, well, that's really safe. Gee, thank you for sharing that.
And I think that's what we find. There are any number of reasons why someone may not be able to safely drive or would prefer not to. Yeah. And frankly, as from a community safety perspective, we don't want people to get it behind the wheel because they don't have any other way to get there.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to end up having a much better accessible community in the long run if we can overcome some of these barriers to people being able to live at home. And in fact, I think I've probably told you this before, transportation is consistently the number one obstacle that people identify to being able to remain in their own homes. And I think that Charlotte Mecklenburg is a community with enough size and with the right with the right motivation. If we are determined, I think we can solve this problem. But it is a challenge, and so I think it's something that's not going to be solved overnight. But I think we have a plan now, and I would like to see. I'm hoping that that's going to move forward.
Now, with the baby boomers aging into retirement, aging into the later years, what is the Council on Aging? I'm sure you've been keeping that probably in the forefront of your mind, going, oh my gosh, we're just going to be flooded with baby boomers soon. And is Charlotte Mecklenburg ready for this influx, for this aging into?
I would say that we at Council on Aging do not feel like we're ready. And part of the problem is that seniors, older adults aging, and that accessible community is not one that is a priority on the, both the city and the county have got community priorities that they're pursuing, and we have been unsuccessful in getting seniors, bumped back up that list. And so we're a little bit disappointed in that. There was a city planner at one time that I recently heard a quote that this fellow is credited with having said that, the future is going to be there, and is it something that we're going to just have happen to us, or is it something that we want to plan? And of course, at Council on Aging, we would advocate for planning, but you cannot plan if the political will is not there to do it, because that means the funding won't be there to do it. So that is something that I think we still see as a big challenge in this community, to get seniors not at the expense of other groups, but kind of as a surrogate for the benefits that flow to the entire community by looking at what the seniors need. It services all of the underserved, underrepresented populations.
And I think, some of the officials don't understand that, and we only have a couple minutes here, but they don't understand, they sell seniors short. A lot of times there's a notion that seniors are, they're just old, they don't have any money, they're poor, they're disabled, and there's a lot of seniors in this community that are still very vital. They still live in their own home, they're in very good neighborhoods, they follow politics, they follow what's going on with the community, they're very much involved, and I think some of the officials need to try to keep that in mind, because that may backfire on them one of these days.
I think you're absolutely right that as a community, I don't think that we can afford to discount anyone. And especially seniors with the experience that they have. The outcomes for seniors is so much better when they are engaged in the community, and that's part of what, as a council, we've tried to do with our events and that sort of thing. Getting people engaged just keeps them active, and it gives the community an opportunity to leverage their experience, which is very valuable. And I think when you see people making the same mistakes over and over, you start to think, that there's a lesson here, and yes. I think that that's one of the lessons that we'd be wise to take to heart.
Well, I'd like to thank you, Deborah, for being here with the Charlotte Mecklenburg Council on Aging, and Frank Halasz, the executive chef at Carmel Place. Thank you so much for both being here. I really appreciate it, and that's all for today. I look forward to seeing you next month. Thank you for the Shepherd Center.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.